Alaska wins, celebrity shines, and one cruiser's banned for life. Let's unpack the headlines. Ahoy, travelers. It's Amy here with your weekly Cruise News Roundup and my thoughts on some of the biggest stories of the week. This week, we saw another win for cruisers going to Alaska as Sitka voted down a proposal to limit the number of cruisers. It wasn't even a close vote either. The citizen petition called for a $4,500 per person per day cap and a $300,000 annual arrivals cap. Now, during the busy season, Sitka has around 8,000 cruisers visit every day, and their annual visitors top a 600,000. So the petition also wanted to shorten the season, allowing ships only from May through September, and that would cut off April and October, which are shoulder season months. Now, it was just a few weeks ago that we saw a similar petition fail for Juneau. Big news for those who are fans of Celebrity Cruise Line, and let me just tell you, we are now fans of Celebrity. More on that later. So Celebrity is going to be investing $250 million to revamp their Solstice-class ships. They're going to begin with the Celebrity Solstice in 2026. You can expect 8 new experiences, including 4 new-to-sea SEA, new to sea venues like Boulevard Lounge, which is going to have cabaret style shows, and the Celebrity Barcade, which is a sports bar with a darts and billiards table. So like bar and arcade, a barcade. They're really punny today. All the staterooms will be upgraded and they're going to add 4 new categories. So things like the panoramic infinite veranda suites. Top decks are getting a makeover too, with an expanded sunset bar, new private cabanas, and a half-acre sunset park. This will have games and be a place for concerts. So the retreat's luxury suites, lounge, and sun deck will also see some major upgrades. The revamped Solstice kicks off with a 14-night Singapore to Sydney cruise in March of 2026, followed by Alaska and an 110-night grand voyage. So what do you think of these upgrades? I've not been on the Solstice class. I don't really know what it looks like now, but it sounds like something that would be a really good thing. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Cruise chaos struck twice this week. On May 30th, the Norwegian Epic broke free from its moorings in Catania, Italy. This is due to strong winds that were up to 57 miles per hour. The gangway collapsed, sending a female passenger into the water. Her husband jumped in to help, and then both were then later rescued with minor injuries. Passengers were stranded for hours, with boarding delayed until 7:15 p.m. Just a day later, on the 31st, the MSC Seascape broke from its moorings at MSC's private island during a stormy squall. So the gangway fell into the water. Thankfully, no injuries were reported in that case. High winds were the culprit in both incidents, highlighting the power of unpredictable weather. Both ships are back on schedule. So have you ever been on a cruise during some wild weather? If so, share your stories in the comments. I want to hear about it. Now, in this week's Dumb Cruiser segment, maybe this is a new segment. Maybe we should add this, right? Dumb Cruiser segment. Carnival Cruise Line has banned a former guest, Courtney Murley, for life after she posted a TikTok video showing how she smuggled alcohol onto the Carnival Conquest back in March. So in a viral video that was viewed over 300,000 times, Morley and her friend unpacked suitcases revealing flasks hidden in various toiletry items. So the caption, "Def waited until after I got home to post this, but it worked. Forget a drink package. LOL. Okay, we ended up drinking probably what we would have paid for a drink package anyway, but still was fun to try and see if the rum runners would work." Now, Carnival was not laughing. They sent Murley a letter banning her from future sailings, citing the smuggling and her social media post. So Murley claims it was just juice for views, not alcohol, and is now seeking an apology from Carnival. Carnival says it doesn't really matter if it was juice or not because the video was still trying to teach people how to get around the rules. But do you believe her? Do you think it was just juice? Was it just a test to see if they could get that past the scanners and the people checking bags? Well, Carnival is cracking down. They say smuggling undermines safety. They allow one bottle of wine per guest, but anything else, confiscated. I just don't understand why anyone would do this. Unless they're planning on taking shots, the best they could do with alcohol that they put in these fake bottles of shampoo is to mix it with juice that they serve in the mornings or potentially add it to a soda. So what's the fun in that? Trying out cocktails, sure, but smuggling on liquor is just having liquor to get drunk. This isn't the first time someone has posted about smuggling liquor on board and found themselves banned. At the very least, you would think people would be smart enough to stay quiet about it, but some people just want those clicks way too much to keep their mouths shut. Well, great news for cruisers heading to Jamaica. The U.S. State Department has downgraded the travel advisory for this very popular Caribbean destination. And it went from a level 3, which means reconsider your travel, to a level 2, which means exercise increased caution. The change follows a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who met with Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness to discuss the island's 18% drop in major crimes. While violent crime remains high in some areas, tourist hotspots, so like Falmouth, Ocho Rios, and Montego Bay, are safer, and they all welcomed 1.4 million cruisers last year. Level 2 means stay vigilant, stick to tourist areas, avoid isolated spots, and consider booking shore excursions through the cruise line or through a reputable website like shoreexcursioneer.com. The advisory also suggests travel insurance for slower emergency services. Always get your travel insurance. Jamaica's ports are busier than ever, so what is your favorite way to explore this island? Share it in the comments below. We've been there once and we booked a private resort for the day. It was nice. It was a safe place to be for sure. Well, we have booked another cruise. Woohoo! I was starting to get that itchy feeling from not having anything booked for 2027. So my aunt and uncle, whom we cruised with on the Celebrity Apex back earlier this year, decided they love cruising so much that they have now booked a couple more cruises. And we're joining them and heading off to the Southern Caribbean on the Celebrity Silhouette. So yes, we are fans of Celebrity. Costs more, for sure, but it really is worth it to us. Now, that's not to say we won't be on some of the more budget-friendly lines like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, but we really enjoyed the Celebrity. So this is going to be our first time on a Southern Caribbean cruise, so it's all new ports for us. I'm so excited. Plus, we have booked a concierge cabin. This is with a balcony and concierge service. So booking a guaranteed concierge stateroom was only $50 more per person than choosing an interior cabin. That's crazy. And since there aren't any concierge cabins above or below a public area, I'm not really worried about cabin location as much as I normally might be. The worst we could expect is getting one right next to the elevators, and I looked, there's only a couple of those even available at this time. I'm not worried about a group of rowdy teens making noise at 1 a.m. hanging out next to the elevators, not on a Celebrity cruise. Not like I would be if I was on Carnival. So this will be our first time doing the guaranteed cabin, but I think we've got ourselves in a class that really is not going to make that a big deal. So realizing that we could upgrade quite a bit for just $50 is why it's beneficial to check out how much different cabin types cost, as they can change from cruise to cruise. And what you might think last time when you looked was a $400 difference made this time just be $50. Now, you never know when you might find that great next deal. Well, my fowl farm update this week isn't very pleasant. So if you can't handle some of the more tragic aspects of farming, now is a good time to leave, and I will say to you, happy cruising. 3, 2, 1. Well, this has been a brutal week on the farm. Last Friday, I began moving the older baby chicks to the coop so that I could open up that grow out pen for the babies that I had in the house. On Sunday, I noticed that I could only find about half of the chicks. There were 16, I was seeing about 8 or 9 of them. And I wasn't sure where they were, but I wasn't too worried. It was dark, I couldn't see much. Then Monday morning, there were about 6, 7, 8 chicks outside of the coop. And I wasn't really sure how they got out, so I did a little checking. And one of the boards that I had propped up to keep the chickens from getting under the coop had fallen down. It's a long story, it's complicated. You'd probably need like a chart and pictures and video, but nobody wants to see a video of my chicken coop, and it's really dark in there. It's hard to take a video. But the coop floor is built up on pallets, and then there were a few inches along the wall and under a shelf. There was a very low shelf that I could not get removed when I was doing this rebuild. That little strip didn't have any flooring on it. And I didn't really realize how bad it was, but I had set boards up and leaned them up against that bottom shelf so the chickens couldn't like get underneath there and get out. I really didn't think about the fact that something might be able to get in. So I went in and checked. That board had fallen down, and I was pretty sure the chicks had like gotten out of the coop that way, that they had gotten next to the wall, got down, went underneath the flooring, and back out the front. They were small enough that they could potentially get through that opening. So Monday evening, the chicks didn't want to go back up into the coop, so I had to catch them and then put them in the coop. And even though there was no evidence that anything had gotten the chicks, I went ahead and set the live trap. Now, this is where the story gets really dark, so it's your last warning. So Tuesday morning, I had a raccoon in the live trap, so I knew it was possible that it had gotten some of my missing chicks. But then I opened the coop door, and it was a slaughter, a massacre. There were dead chicks everywhere, and even one of my full-size hens mutilated. So out of the 16 chicks, I had one left. One. I realized that it wasn't that the chicks had gotten out, but that the coons had gotten in. They had gone in through the front and come up that spot and pushed that board down and got in. That's what had happened. So I spent the morning shoring up any small opening. I fixed all of that. I put flooring all the way to the edge, and then I fixed the front where they were coming in on the front. So sad. I disposed of all the bodies, including that raccoon, and I spent the rest of the day just praying that I had closed off any way for the coons to get into the coop again. I felt terrible. Not only was it my fault for leaving a space large enough for predators that could get in the coop. I mean, it's really hard with what I'm doing because I'm building it inside of a building to make sure there's every little tiny spot where no mouse or snake can get in, but I need to like make sure possums and raccoons can't get in. Then not only had I not closed up every little spot, but then I had also forced all those chicks to go into the coop that night. So I don't know if they would have made it just hanging out in the bigger part of the barn, but I don't know. I felt bad. The only reason that the one chick survived, because I have one left, was because it was roosting on the very highest roost along with all my other chickens. And I think the rest of the baby chicks were either on the ground or on that bottom roost, so they were within easy grabbing distance of a raccoon. And I don't think it was just one raccoon either, because this week I have caught 3 raccoons as well as a possum. So I think I don't think the possum had anything to do with this. I think it just got caught, but I think all those raccoons had been coming in and had taken and did this whole massive massacre, slaughter. It was terrible. Thankfully, it seems as if I have shut off their way into the coop. I've not lost anything else. Only time will tell. But it's just all that time, effort, money that goes into raising those chicks, all for nothing. Plus, all my chickens are freaked out at this point. I'm surprised they even went back into the coop on Tuesday night, but the older ones did. It really wasn't the best week on the farm. Hopefully, this week will be better. I did find a 4-leaf clover yesterday, so maybe everything's looking up. Well, are you ready for more information on cruising? Why not stick around and check out this video and then come back for more information designed to help you have an amazing cruise. Have a blessed week, everyone.